Dating back to the early 2000s, the WWE, then WWF, wanted to expand and explore more possibilities with their video library. At the time, they already had a vast library full of iconic wrestling history, and that was before WCW and ECW were purchased. DVDs were already a thing, but there was always going to be more to offer with a TV network. It was a huge obstacle at the time, and near the end of the Viacom contract, WWE wanted to purchase a sci-fi channel. That was quickly turned down, and it's mostly because a wrestling network wasn't exactly appealing. And this was at the height of wrestling's popularity. Instead, a small video-on-demand service was released in November of 2004. This was called WWE 24/7. WWE 24/7 offered a lot for that time period. Archive footage, legend talk shows, but looking back on it wasn't much because the programming was scheduled and lacked proper freedom, but that's what you get for that time period. In addition, because it relied a lot on the past, you don't see some of the current wrestlers featured on the service often. Raw and Nitro were featured for only once a week for a couple of years, and if I recall, they reached $19.99 by the end of the service. That tells you all you need to know about how slow things were with it. And a lot of people don't really appreciate how spoiled they are nowadays with the service. With that said, WWE Classics On Demand was around for a bit before the company considered changing it up. A commercial aired during the September 5th, 2011 episode of Raw, and a survey followed about this new channel. It was called the WWE Network, and as you could see, the logo looked a bit different. There was plenty of surveys at the time about the new service, and one of them was asking fans about seeing pay-per-views on there. And those pay-per-views were of course the B shows. The big four would remain as actual pay-per-views, but they were also considering putting them on the WWE Network. Vince also refused to have any outside help in the sense of somebody controlling its creation. Of course, we always hear about that. However, they were also looking for potential suitors to take up this new network. There's a lot of cool concepts they mentioned as potential shows, and I wish they actually went down. In reading about the early version of the WWE Network, it was a revamped version of the 24/7 service and relied on the likes of Comcast and AT&T to bring it in as an option. The whole concept wasn't known though, because some also believed there was a chance it would be an internet service, as it ended up being upon its release. It was going to be very similar to something like the NFL or MLB network. Initially, keyword initially, because a lot of archive content but also plenty of current day live events. The real reveal of the WWE network came on the December 5th, 2011 episode of Raw. A very different approach and outlook with this commercial. It felt like it was on the pulse with that song Cinema. I listen to that song now and think, damn, is this so outdated? But it was exciting when you look back from that time period's perspective. A more intense version of 24/7's classic content, but alongside it would be a blend of reality shows and new original programming. It was set for a release on April 1st, 2012. That's the day of the Roblox hacking incident. Yup. I think it was also the day of WrestleMania 28. But who cares? Roblox was more important. It was a very overwhelming date to release something, and as the days went by, it became obvious that it wasn't going to come out that day. There was very few rumblings of the network throughout 2012, but one important rumor from the time was that WWE wasn't looking to become part of a cable package. This only meant they would go online, although that wasn't official until a while later. When the WWE network was announced in 2014 again, it took a radical approach that hinged on 1 million subscribers. So let me explain this simply. Let me put it down to 1, 2, 3 ABC stuff. So usually at the time, WWE pay-per-views would get around 100,000 buys. The big four, especially WrestleMania, would get more. Even though they made money from the shows, the pay-per-view industry was declining. But because the pay-per-views weren't making as much, not to mention the pay-per-view provider would take a percentage, it left WWE with less. By making the network $9.99, which I forgot to mention throughout this video, but don't worry, I'll be sure to mention it 2013 more times for old time's sake. It allows for more potential customers. Regular pay-per-view is $60. HD version might be $70. If a show is $10, more people subscribe, which means more of an opportunity to increase your profits, all by cutting the middleman and making your own events cheaper. The craziest part in all this was the fact that WWE also included WrestleMania with the pay-per-views, along with the entire archive backlog of pay-per-views from WCW, ECW, and their own events. All of this for less than $10. And it sounds like I'm shilling, but it was a really good deal, especially because NXT aired on the network along with the live takeovers. It was insane stuff. The cable method probably wouldn't have worked because it had a lot more complications to it that would ruin the potential of what the WWE network could have been. Canada had that in the early days and it was terrible. I don't really know much about it, but from what I've seen, they had limited content. The WWE network was a game changer and showed that WWE was ahead of the curve. It was wrestling's version of Netflix, and also before every service had some stupid scam where they demand you pay $10 for dwindling content. For as many problems WWE and the network had throughout the years, at least they don't pull their content and charge you more money for worse stuff. I remember they used to make fun of people who bought pay-per-views when they were promoting them throughout 2014. Obviously, internet was decent at the time, but clearly not everyone can trust their service, especially in rural areas. I get it, but they were always hitting you in the head with how cheap it was. And the service was definitely worth it. Now, in the early days, there were some technical difficulties. I don't recall them being as bad as that Tyson and Paul fight though. The content was nice and welcoming. Early on, they had a lot of original programming such as Legends House, Swerved, and WrestleMania Rewind. There was effort put into the shows, and I really liked that, especially when they got comfortable. You can watch the shows all day, but back then it felt more special and privileged to watch something. I wouldn't get bored of the network because it was a unique hub. Over time, they added all the Raw, SmackDown, and Nitro Nitro and Thunder episodes. Plenty of primetime wrestling, Tuesday Night Titans, but for me, the best time period for the WWE Network was 2016 to 2019. Now, there was plenty of canceled WWE Network trends on Twitter because Roman Reigns won a match, but even if they had a kiss my ass match every show, the service would be worth it. WWE 24, a wonderful look behind the scenes into the show of shows WrestleMania, a return time for the likes of Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan. Ride Along, a personal favorite of mine that saw 2 or 3 wrestlers travel with a camera in front of them. That show was the best. It was just so simple. You just stick a camera and they travel. Camp WWE, WWE Storytime, Corey Graves and Renee Young's interview shows. The network had a lot of personality and variety, not to mention some of the special documentaries they released throughout the years. One of the best things WWE ever did was the Cruiserweight Classic, a tournament that was hotter than that summer. The network was a success for WWE, but as always, there was going to be a ceiling because of the fact that it was wrestling. They managed to reach 1.5 million subscribers, which was a success, but it took a while. With that said, the reason why I said 2016 and 19 was the network's prime was because it delivered on everything it intended to be in 2011. Sometime around the launch of NXT on USA Network, it started to take a decrease in quality. For one, they stopped releasing classic content as often as they did. Original programming wasn't the same, and shows like WWE 365 and Table for 3 weren't used to their full potential. The best thing WWE does nowadays isn't even on the network, it's WWE Vault on YouTube. COVID happened, and just like everything else, they minimized quality but also found a way to maximize profits. That's how it is. The network has good stuff, but that good stuff nowadays is the pay-per-view and archive content. They don't have as much original programming as they used to. The move to Peacock in 2021 was unfortunate, especially in the early days. I don't bother to watch anything on it except pay-per-views because it's so bad. Everything's so complex there. Why do pay-per-views have seasons? Why is there no original content? It feels like it could be more than it should be. It makes the original WWE Network look like Netflix. The WWE Network changed a lot. WWE was ahead with the idea when many followed up with a subscription service. WWE already had it figured out. Unfortunately, with all the other services, they're more complicated. If you want to watch any NFL game, the price is ridiculous. ESPN Plus is great though. They have some UFC archives, boxing archives, La Liga, Bundesliga, and some cup games from a couple of soccer leagues. I was calling it cheap because it was $8, but these weirdos increased the price to $12, which is typical. I'm not gonna lie and say it's not worth it, but that's how it is now. They increase prices on everything and take away stuff. That's how it is. WWE though has everything under them, which comes with the territory. They own everything on that network, so it won't come as a problem. Netflix provides another great opportunity to reach an international audience. Raw is coming on January 6th, and I really hope they change it up and give us a different program. We know the big stuff happens at the first minute, second hour, and final hour. You know how it is. Raw, you know it like the back of your hand how it's scheduled. I just wish it's paced differently, and in addition, I do hope that the original content returns. Netflix is the leader of the subscription industry, and that needs to be utilized to its full potential. Some of my favorite content from Netflix is the documentary series, where they follow someone like Kevin Hart, Neymar, a certain sports team for a year. I really like that stuff because it gives you more of a behind-the-scenes look into the mentality, into the psyche, into the character of said person outside the squared circle, or in these people's case, behind the camera or whatever. One of my personal wishes, and it's not going to happen obviously, but if they dedicate a series to mid-card wrestlers, their life inside and outside the ring, every episode it could be someone else and their mentality, what drives them to continue going on, but I'm not running things. They know better than us what appeals to the wider audience. But we all know how it's going to be. WWE is the most successful. They're going to be like 33 million people tuned into the first episode of Raw, which we all know is probably not true. We're good off the dick sucking. Overall, the WWE Network was good. I just want to say it was very good, but it really could have been more than it was. The WWE Network reached an 89 overall, I'd say. It was very good. Like, there was a time period where all I would watch is the WWE Network. They had a lot of programs with personality and character. It made me more invested into the TV shows because I'd see wrestlers feature on Table for 3, WWE Breaking Ground. There's so many different shows on there that allowed you to see a different side of these wrestlers. And they don't care now because they're getting paid a lot by Peacock, which is one of the worst apps out there, next to Paramount Plus. I hate those two apps. And now Netflix. So it's like they probably don't really care much. But we can only hope that Netflix makes WWE produce original content. Only time will tell, so we'll see. Alright, what you guys think of the WWE Network? Please comment down below, and that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the RKO on the like button, or perhaps the attitude adjustment on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.